I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Another review, there's another paid request, this time from Jordon. Thank you so much for that. And he wanted me to review, I guess, a couple episodes of the animated Spider-Man cartoon series from the 90s, which started around 1994. And before I get into the specific episodes, I do remember growing up with this show. I remember watching it, must have been in reruns. And like I said, getting a kick out of it because I had read a lot of the Spider-Man comics at the time, and it was cool. Wow, you get to see a show. I liked the voice actor Christopher Daniel Barnes, who voiced Peter Parker Spider-Man. I thought he fit fairly role as the voice of Spider-Man. At the time, I liked the animation. When you watch the show, it was cool to see all these villains and characters. Punisher showed up in one episode. Blade showed up. Kraven the Hunter, Venom, even Carnage. Like, a lot of these characters showed up. It was cool to see. I liked Mary Jane. I liked the voice actress who played her. I thought they made Mary Jane very likable. She wasn't bitchy like in the Sam Raimi films. I'm sorry, Kirsten Dunst just came off as bitchy. Tell me you love me. You tell me you love me. You wouldn't dare. Like, shut, fuck you, suck a dick. To that Mary Jane Watson and Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, she just sucked my balls after they sweated. But this is this is the Mary Jane I think of when I read the comic back in the day. This is how I viewed Mary Jane, with the voice, the way she played it, the way the character was written. There's many times she wasn't a pushover, she wasn't always a damsel in distress, and she wasn't a whining, annoying bitch. And I will say though, watch it again, there's a bit of luster lost on the show because of the fact, I didn't notice this at the time, but when you watch it again, because of certain censorship around that time, they would not let Spider-Man punch. I don't know if this is true, but I read this, and it says it sounds so fucking stupid, I buy into this. Where, it's not the MPAA, I forget what it's called when it's TV and cartoons. They said, well, Batman can punch in Batman the Anime series because the way that looks, it looks like it takes place in 1930s. It looks like blah, blah, blah. So it looks more fantastical. It looks more fantasy. So that's okay if Batman punches. But Spider-Man, since he's in New York and it's more in our world, nope, it's not okay for him to punch. I don't know how the fuck that makes sense. So, yeah. Sounds similar to what the MPA would do in movies. At least at the time. So, because there's so many times, like, why can't Spider-Man just punch someone, knock him the fuck out? No, that's why a lot of times he uses the webs. Almost every fucking fight is web, 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 web. And it's like, oh, man. And it's God, just let the fucking guy punch. I've read many fucking comics. Let him punch in the movies. That's one thing I did say about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, to be fair. He did let Spider-Man punch. At least there's that. At least there's that. Because there are times where he punched and hits Doc Ock and others, so... But yeah, it is annoying. And also, I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere, because this is about Hydroman, which is actually voiced by Rob Paulsen. If you don't know who that is, Rob Paulsen voiced Raphael in the 90s Ninja Turtles cartoon, and then would voice Donatello in the 2012 Ninja Turtles cartoon. And it was cool to hear Rob Paulsen again. He's a solid voice actor. He did, like I said, he did a good job voicing Raphael in the 90s cartoon, 80s to 90s cartoon, and at least here, he doesn't sound like Raphael. He's playing a bit more of a serious character, and it was the right call, so it didn't make me just keep thinking, why is Raphael, he turned evil? Although I'd see that movie. But it just, yeah, it was nice to hear he did a good job, is what I'm getting at. But he plays the character Hydroman. I've heard that they put him in instead of Sandman. Something about Sandman, I guess at the time couldn't be in it, because James Cameron had an unproduced Spider-Man movie. And so it's like, well, you can't use this. I don't know how true that is, because it doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense to me. Well, Spider-Man's in it, and you could do a cartoon Spider-Man. Wasn't Electro in it? And I believe Electro was in the cartoon, but that's what I read. I read somewhere that they used Hydroman instead of Sandman, because Sandman couldn't appear because of James Cameron's Spider-Man movies script that didn't get produced. I don't know. I don't know all the details. Maybe they just thought, hey, Hydroman, which is like Sandman except water. Like, Hydroman didn't impress me much as a villain, but it's like, whatever. Now, getting to these episodes, it's when he was first introduced, and then when he returns. This is a time when Spider-Man was losing his powers, and his DNA was changing. I try to remember this was the point where later on he would grow other arms. So it's like he's mutating to something that's not human. I think that was when he would then grow extra arms and he had to try to hide it and try to find a cure for it. Which that is something that happened in the comic books as well. So I think like with the Spider-Man, the spider DNA was still changing him. It just took longer. And so also this is a point where he's looked at as a criminal, which happened a lot in the comic books, as well as the 90s cartoon. There's a point he goes into this water treatment plant, has to deal with this eel, makes it bite this web cartridge. And that is one thing I like about the show, is that they do make Spider-Man a smart guy. They make him into the scientist that he is. There's a lot of times where he has to use his smarts, use his brain to outwit stuff, or create stuff, or try to figure out what to do in this situation. He's a lot of things in the show, but one thing he's not is a dummy. So that is something I appreciate about the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I also always liked the theme, which I believe Aerosmith did. The Spider-Man theme. Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man. Like the music. Maybe I'm wrong, but I always thought that was Aerosmith. I always thought that was a cool theme for him. And so, yeah, he deals with that. He's got to leave. Meanwhile, Rob Paulsen, I forget was it Maury? I think like Morris, or Maury. He stalked and married Jane. They had a relationship in the past. He even puts pearls on her because he stole the shit. and he's like a jealous, overbearing guy. Spider-Man saves Mary Jane, and you have this nice shot with Hydroman doing this. You have all this water coming up in different directions into this, like from different directions into the sky. I always thought it was like a cool shot. I believe that's a shot that would be used in the intro when they're showing like different villains. I could be wrong, but that seems like a shot I've seen quite a few times. Like I say, it's been a while since I've seen this show. And Spider-Man, they do try to get his sense of humor, which I appreciate. I just think maybe the lines won't be as funny, but I do think Christopher Daniel Barnes does a nice job evoking that Spider-Man sense of humor. I think that's another thing that the cartoon does well, is that it's the right voice, the right sense of tone when he's doing these jokes. But he was such a good fit for the character. So he's rescuing Mary Jane. He's like, Submariner, eat your heart out. Did you say Hydroman Man? Man, the dogs must love you. It's Hydroman. Like, I thought they got that right for the character in this show. Just let him fucking punch someone. Granted, this one is made of water, so there's not much you could do in actually fighting. I think that's sadly one of the issues with these episodes, with the battles, is because the guy's made of water. Granted, again, you can't, even if he wasn't, he can't be allowed to punch. But it's like, there's not much he can do. Maybe a web that he freezes him for a little bit. Or throwing stuff at him that he makes him splash, but then he comes back like he's the T-1000. So like I said, it's in a way limited to what you could do. At least with Sandman, maybe you could hit something if they allowed him to punch. But with Hydroman, then there's not a whole lot you can do. And you do get a little bit of his backstory. He was in the Navy, special research. And it seemed almost random, like he dived in, there's something in the water, and then something in the earth changed me. It seemed like a very lazy backstory. I don't really know what it is in the earth that changed me. But yeah, just something changed me. And why it changed me into part water, I don't know. It just did. Because I was in the water, there's something in the water. It changed me. It just seemed like a... it just seemed lazy. But what do I know? And it does showcase Mary Jane is not just a pushover. She does help out. She actually led the motherfucker away from the water. He's melting. You know, it fades up into mist, and she's like, is he dead? Well, not technically, because, you know, the way chemicals work and water, steam, all that stuff. Maybe he'll get put back together someday. And ladies, Mary Jane's a spitfire. Stick with me, Tiger. I'll teach you to beat the odds. Beat the odds? What are you, Star Wars? But never tell me the odds. But yeah, I like that Mary Jane is not a pushover. She's a badass firecracker. Red hair and a firecrotch, I'm sure. So, the characters is what bring me to that show. And the voice actors do them fairly well. And it was like, there's a lot of stories. I remember like they did the Venom arc. They did a nice job showcasing that. Certain stories, I guess, like they try to do something with Secret Wars. I don't know, just parts like just do the actual Secret Wars, but yeah, it's like they try to do it. It's like, yeah, it's just not, I don't know, going off tangent. But then about a year or two later, you had the Return of Hydra Man in 2 parts. I don't know if this needed to be 2 parts. I do think this could have been done into 1 part. Because part 1, there's this nightmare scene where Mary Jane's in the water. She wakes up. By this point in the show, Mary Jane had been missing for a while. She had mysteriously reappeared. Peter and Mary Jane got married. At this point, they're going on their honeymoon. Hydroman is back. Kidnaps her. He's wondering where Mary Jane's at. Trying to find where she's at. Black Cat. Nice to see Black Cat. Felicia Hardy. This does treat Black Cat well, this series, from what I remember. And It's not like, what was that fucking comic I read where she got raped and like she got raped in college and that's why she became Black Cat and she got raped. It was a weird fucking comic. I ranted on it. It's like, what the fuck is this comic? It's on the channel. I forgot what the fuck it was called though. This treats Black Cat a lot better. I don't know if you needed Black Cat in the story though, but it was cool to see her. And again, the voice actress does a good job. But she helps Spider-Man. They find MJ. Spider-Man's avoiding a lot of Hydroman stuff. And then ultimately, Mary Jane seems to have some powers, and she shoots some water. And that's the cliffhanger episode. What happened to her? How come she has these water powers, too? Dun, dun, dun. But just then when you get to part 2, Mary Jane's missing again. The mom's being a bitch. Well, to be fair, they get Mary Jane back. Mary Jane's mom is a complete bitch. They're trying to figure out what happened to MJ. Then she's disappeared again. Then it's like a bunch of clues from her dream. Remember in her dream that she told Peter she had. He has like a searchlight on his belt. It's just going to these different places. And like I said, I do think this could have been done in one episode. I mean, it could be pushing it, to be fair. Because these episodes are pretty short if you take away the... sorry, I'm editing something. That's what that noise is. Just... him searching for all these clues got kind of boring, honestly. Like, there's a point he gets to a toy store and he's battling a fucking robot in the toy store. And it's like trying to be a wannabe transformer. At least it's train track. It's like, oh, okay, he battled a bunch of fucking toys. Pretty much it, and then at least to him, spoiler alert, going to the scientist, and you find out he cloned Hydroman and cloned Mary Jane. And they're unstable, they're coming apart, and it's a good emotional moment. The voice actors sell it well. Mary Jane's falling apart amongst her water form. She says, if I'm like the real Mary Jane, just know she loves Peter Parker more than anything. It's a good emotional moment. Spider-Man screams, no, but it's not like a silly, no, like Darth Vader. It's like a sincere grief. And then you have a character, I don't remember in the comics, she may have appeared, but they feature a lot in the show, Madam Web, as saying, I need you to do something for me. What if I were to tell you that if you did it, I could lead you to the real Mary Jane? I think that's what led into the Secret Wars storyline, which I just remember being disappointing compared to the actual Secret Wars storyline. Because I think like Captain America was in there, and maybe a few others, but just, I don't know, just the way it played out, just... So again, I would say it's interesting to hear Rob Paulsen play the character's a bit more serious compared to, again, Raphael from the 90s cartoon, TMNT cartoon. The battles with Hydroman, it's limited to, again, even if you're allowed to punch, you can't punch. It's just only so much you could throw and hit and reform again, or just avoid the water. You're limited to what you can do in the action sequences against Hydroman. I would say what makes it work is the voice actors and the characters of Spider-Man, Mary Jane, how they relate to each other. How they work with each other. And like I said, with the Return of Hydra Man, the two-parter, I might have seen... I'm trying to remember when... I do remember seeing this episode before. I'm trying to remember how that was the case. It might have been I got a DVD-R. No, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, trying to remember how I first saw it. It might have been on reruns. I caught it. I remember, oh shit, like I didn't expect her to be a clone. I do remember that being a surprise. But the grief like doesn't get to last long because as soon as he's grieving, water envelopes him, and then there's Modern Web, and pretty quickly says, "What if I could tell you I could find you the real Mary Jane?" So you don't really get a lot of time to shine his grief and turmoil and being upset and thinking he's married and it's gone, and that he told her the truth that he was Spider-Man and that's all gone, and but you don't really have room to breathe and really pick out drama and act like it seems like there's a lot you could get into that. To so quickly go into the Madam Web thing, I thought it's just need more room to breathe. Like I almost want to say I would rather that be a two-parter. Like you have Hydroman in the middle of it. There it is. Like cut out the going finding clues. Black Cat's cool to see. She didn't really need to be there. Because she doesn't show up for the second part of the two-parter. She doesn't. Like, part 2, Black Cat disappears. Like, she doesn't... Hey, we rescued MJ. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye. That's it. But if you, like, have the two-parter be in the middle of part 1, she has powers, what the fuck. Then by the end, she dissipates. You have a battle with Hydroman. Oh my god, I did this. Follows her. Boom, she's a clone. Oh my god, that's a cliffhanger. Then the second part is the grieving process. Maybe just angry, just upset, ready to murder, kill someone, whatever. Wait, great power comes great responsibility. However you want to play that out. I'm sure better than what I said. Like that to me would have been a more interesting two-parter. Wait a few episodes as he's dealing with his grief, and then have Madam Web. Hey, what if I tell you Mary Jane's still alive? Boom, go into your Secret War story. I just think it could have been played out a lot differently. Because again, like I think the battle series with Hydroman has to be short because there's not much you can do because of the type of power he has. And like I said, the whole looking for clues. So it goes to like, wait, there's a pirate? Why is there a pirate in your dream? Oh, it's a themed restaurant. Wait, oh, yeah, go to a toy store, battle some fucking robot that thinks he's a wannabe. Toys get together as if Transformer. It's like, whatever. Spider-Man fighting stuff in a toy store? Really? And an episode that ends with that seriousness? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite episodes of the series. Other than a guy stalking Mary Jane, the first time we see Hydroman. I would say that I liked more than the two-parter. Like the first time we see Hydroman, I would say I liked that more. You know, beginning, middle, end, boom, 20 minutes, you're out. Well, instead of this two-parter that, again, not the most... It's cool to see Black Cat and others, but I wouldn't say I loved it. But that's the thing, when I see an episode of a cartoon like this, it's very rarely I hate it. Just they're 20 minutes. They're 20 minutes, even if you don't like it, or it's not that great, you're in, you're out, boom, another episode before or since, whatever. It goes by pretty quick when it's that short. But, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Other than, yeah, the Spider-Man anime series, I do remember liking a lot of it. I don't know why the fuck they never released a full, like, DVD, Blu-ray set of it. They could have. They should have. But they didn't. I don't know if it's a rights issue. I don't know if it's a bug up your ass issue to whoever decide not to do that. I really don't know. But it's a fucking shame. It's a fucking shame. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.